Lessons I've learned as I move into, and I will also fully admit, out of stage 8, and sometimes I go from advanced stacking and I fall back. This isn't a linear progress. Like anything worth doing in life, it's hard and it takes practice and it's messy, right? And so I think this goes without saying, but I don't have all this figured out. I'm just sharing with you guys from my heart some of the stuff I think might be helping me figure some of this stuff out. That's all it is. And it's going to be these lessons don't necessarily tie together as in, I can't articulate how they tie together as well as I like. They don't flow. There's not this grace to it. And I'm still up here just sharing because one of the lessons I've tried to teach you guys since we started this community was get out there and do it before you feel like you know how to do it, right? I teach the things that I need to learn. And so that's what I'm up here doing. Last time, and I hope did any of you watch the video? I know lots of you said you watched the video, but Google Forms are really easy to lie on. In real life, it's harder. It was the video from the last retreat where Chris and I talked about chopping wood, the dopamine system, and sharpening the saw. And I want to be very clear, if I wasn't clear enough last time, both of those are very, very good things. Who's heard the saying, good is the enemy of great? And along those lines, I believe that we cannot simply sharpen or chop our way into the 8th stage of alignment. We need help, right? And I described for you where I find the support that I need to go from 7 to 8, and I'd encourage you guys to play with that for yourselves as well. But here are the lessons, and I think there's 6 of them or so we're doing all right on time. It is impossible to get enough of something that almost works. It is impossible to get enough of something that almost works. And so when success makes you feel really good, if it worked, you wouldn't need to go back for more success. So that first success worked, but it didn't work all the way, right? And it's really hard to not go, well, if this much success made me feel this much better, more success will make me feel that much better. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, by the way. I hope you guys hear me saying that. The challenge is we do run into the law of diminishing returns that Chris talked about at the last retreat, right? And so what we want to be aware of is how hard it can be to set something down that almost works. It can be downright scary. Lesson 2, and some of you have heard me talk about this before, correlation does not equal causation. So at the last retreat, I talked about the inner critic. Remind me, who has an inner critic in their voice that's pretty vocal and can chirp a little bit? By a show of hands, if you do. Okay, and those of you that don't, God bless you, and please teach me how, because, man, mine's an asshole. I'm going to backtrack. He has been historically. I'm getting him in check. The reason that I allowed that jerk to be so highly critical of me for so long is because I was convoluting correlation with causation. I've even, I think, said from this stage to you guys, listen, that critic produced some real success in my life, right? He contributed to my success. I was saying that critic helped me, and I believed it to be true. And I'm not now doing a 180 and saying that the inner critic didn't contribute to my success that I've had. But what I do know beyond a shadow of a doubt is that while that critic was contributing to the success that I've had, he was holding me back from far greater success that would have been available to me if I had confronted him long ago, right? Just because 2 things happen at the same time, inner critic, lots of success, doesn't mean that the inner critic is causing the success, right? Internet usage has gone up dramatically in the last 30 years, so have murders in Chicago. The internet usage didn't cause the murders in Chicago to go up. You guys tracking with me on this one? Okay, it's basic statistics. Lesson 3, humans will often sacrifice what they want for the thing that they think will give them what they want. I'm going to say it again. Humans will often sacrifice what they want for the thing they think will give them what they want. I'm going to give you a real life example. May or may not be applicable to you guys, but I can illustrate it well because I've got this thing on my arm right here. This measures blood sugar continuously. For the last 5 years, I'd wanted to optimize my blood sugar. I have been trying to get my blood sugar to the perfect number. If you ask me why, I'd say because I want to be healthy. I want to be as healthy as I can so I can live a long life. Nothing wrong with that, right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But what I wanted was wellness and health. Diet and exercise were my first two things, and I used those to optimize my blood sugar. My diet and my exercise, trust me when I tell you, it has been dialed in for a long time, and it helped, so it was a good thing. But my blood sugar got stuck about 10 or 15% higher than it should have. And I now know why. Because while what I really wanted, the thing I really wanted was health and wellness, I sacrificed my health and wellness by aiming at an arbitrary number from a little meter in my arm. And I put so much pressure on myself to get to that number, it was creating stress in my life. Does anybody know the stress hormone? Cortisol. Does anybody know what effect cortisol has on blood sugar? It raises it, in my experience, by about 10 to 15%, right? So if I had really kept my focus and aimed my arrows at wellness, I could have treated the whole me, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, rather than just the physical me, get my numbers in line. Does that make sense? All right. Some of you are like, but that has nothing to do with storage. I promise you, good life principles are good business principles. And the more ownership you take about moving one from one category to the other, the more impactful that lesson will be for you, right? We've all read things we know to be true, and then at some point along the lines, we discover those same things for ourselves, and it's like, holy shit, why didn't somebody tell me this a long time ago? Well, they did, but you wouldn't hear it until it came from within you, right? All right, lesson number 4, this kind of piggybacks on the same one, or on the last one. It's not the thing that is good or bad as much as it is our relationship to the thing or bad. So our diet and exercise, healthy diet and exercise, a bad thing? No. But if our relationship to that diet and exercise is one that throws other aspects of our life out of balance, or if we're aiming at the wrong target, you can see how it could be a bad thing. So it's our relationship to the thing. Is making millions of dollars in storage a bad thing? No. If you're only going to allow your critic to quiet down, or force your critic gently to quiet down until you make $1 million in storage, is that a healthy relationship? Probably not, right? So just something to consider. So lesson 5 here is the highest, and I want to underline, but not only value in seeking happiness outside of ourselves, is in finding out that it doesn't work. Now, seeking happiness outside of yourself may very well enhance your happiness, right? Because it's easier to be happy when you're financially free than when you're not. That's value, and we'll take it. But the other part that I know to be true is that it's far more valuable to get to the point where you've got more money than you know what to do with and realize, oh, all those platitudes about happiness being within were right. And so if I could go back in time, I wouldn't not pursue storage riches. I absolutely would. But I would also simultaneously pursue the inner work that's going to create happiness, right? Because we aim for the money not because we want money. Now, some people are like, no, you don't understand, Mike, I really want the money. BS. You want the feelings you think having the money will give you. And it will give you some of them, but not all of them. And so if you're aiming at that target, there's a chance it's not going to give you all the happiness you want. But if you're aiming at least a portion of your energy directly at the happiness target, if you hit that target, no one can argue that you get the happiness, right? So my encouragement is for you guys to join me in aiming your arrows at the thing you actually want, rather than the things you think will give you the things you want. So again, that builds on the last one there. Keep doing that. Lesson 6. This is, I want to preface this by saying that sometimes, no, all the time, words matter. And sometimes the words we use affect our ability to relate to other people. And so when I talk about learning to trust, surrender, and receive whatever God has for you, people are like, whoa, surrender, that's what pansies do. And you don't know me, I'm a hard-charging type A entrepreneur, and I don't surrender. Fair enough. You guys heard me talk on my last talk about self-care. And be honest, does the word self-care or trauma or healing, do those rub anybody kind of like just a little cringeworthy? Be honest. You can say it. Yeah, me too. Totally me too. 100%. I told you that the last year. I'm like, I can't believe I'm saying this stuff from on stage. It's ridiculous. What I've learned is that self-care, loving yourself, we could, if that rubs you the wrong way, just replace it with being super cool to yourself, being super cool to your future self, your current self, right? Healing, how about optimize your life? Because I promise you the areas of your life that aren't optimized are a result of healing that hasn't yet happened. And if that healing happened, your ability to optimize your life would increase. So words matter. The last little piece of encouragement is that the more those words bug you, the more you might stand to gain if instead of avoiding them, you turn, look them in the face, and approach them. So, my journey over the last year has been one where I've learned how to trust myself, how to trust God, how to surrender my life, my vision for my life to His vision for my life. And as I do that, it's amazing that doors open up. I've used the analogy 100 times. It's pretty crude, especially considering that I'm talking about God. But it's like those of us who, boys in high school, if we chased the prom date desperately, like drooling, she wanted nothing to do with us, right? The more you chase things, the more you repel them. The more you chase money, the harder it becomes to get. As you surrender to the flow of it, rather than trying to charge your way to the top on your own, you will find that you attract more of the thing that you actually want.